Hey Hawkers, coming in with this review a whole round late, so apologies for that. Let's dive right into it. We demolished the Tigers and ruined the occasion for the 92,000 Tigers fans who turned up for Dusty Martin's 300th game, so we're going to dissect our performance and see how we won this game of footy. The game started out as a real arm wrestle. The Tigers initially looked like they turned up for the occasion and displayed a lot of real intensity around the footy. We were ultimately looking a little better in the contested balling clearances early, but they were able to move the ball fairly easily between the arcs. They just lacked a little bit of synergy with their forwards and couldn't punish our lackluster start until the footy gods wrote the perfect script and Dusty kicked the first goal of the game running inside 50 after a poor turnover, and it was just absolute mayhem in the stands. Even just watching it on TV, I could tell how loud the crowd's roar was, and you couldn't help but feel really nervous about what was to come as a Hawks fan. Luckily, our defence stood tall though and showed good composure, and we were able to get a couple of goals back very quickly thanks to some defensive half chains. It was obvious that we were the better team from here. Our efficiency going inside 50 was a lot better. We scored from 46% of our entries for the term to their 22%. Taranto kicked a freak goal late to keep things close, but it was ultimately a great start to the game both defensively and offensively for us. It was a similar story in the second. Richmond looked to have steadied things early. They had matched our intensity at the contest and led the clearance count early, which led to Koschitzki converting their third goal of the match. You could tell he was loving kicking one against his former team, but we immediately responded with 2 goals just a few minutes later. Shea Bolton then went on to kick a very nice goal running inside 50, a bit like the Dusty Martin one. But after this, once again, you could tell we were a lot better. We were a lot more damaging with the footy and punished the Tigers off turnover, like many teams have this year. And despite the fact we were getting kind of spanked in the clearance, we were all over them around the ground. In the third quarter, we really started to put them to the sword. We had fixed up our clearance game and started to dominate in that facet of the game. Despite conceding yet another early goal, we steamrolled them from here. If it wasn't for Nick Watson's inaccuracy, we could have gone into the last quarter up by 10 goals. That's how good we were playing. Mabior Chol was really stamping his authority on the game in the third quarter. He was dominating a formidable opponent in Noah Bolter. He was up and about against his former club. We continued the dominance in the last quarter. Richmond genuinely looked lost with the ball at times and really lacked cohesion with their forwards. The work of our key defenders was obviously aiding this. Sicily was best on ground by a mile. Frost kept Tom Lynch goalless, who can be the best key forward in the comp on his day, and Scrimshaw was intercepting almost everything that came his way. The fact that we can keep a team to just 2 goals in a half shows our immense improvement in this area of the ground. Obviously, Richmond have had their struggles scoring this year, but we cannot take away that achievement from our defenders just because of a poor opponent. It was a dominant display all around the ground, and if we had converted more of our opportunities, this would have been an absolute bloodbath. There were a lot of good performers that had great games against Richmond, but let's see who was the most deserving of the Hawthorn HQ Player of the Year votes. Mabior Chol gets into the votes for just the second time this year. The last time he polled was against the Cats on Easter Monday, mainly because I struggled to find players deserving of votes on that day. But he is definitely deserving of at least 1 here. He kicked 4, could have well had 5, but that wasn't the thing that impressed me the most. I think his forward 50 pressure is really what puts him above a lot of key forwards at the moment. He always chases down, even got a couple of holding the ball free kicks in this game. He's showing immense improvement and proving the doubters of his move to Hawthorn wrong. Newcombe was huge in the guts this game. While he didn't gather a lot of clearances, he still finished with 26 disposals at 73%, 12 contested possessions, 11 score involvements, and an important goal in the first quarter, which put us up by a couple of goals when the game was still hot. 2 votes over to Duke. No-brainer for the maximum votes, Sicily putting in an all-Australian level performance as our general down back. Not only was he intercepting everything, but he kept Koschitzki really quiet, also provided a lot of release kicks out of defence, which led to chains and scoring opportunities. He finished with a team-high 33 disposals, 15 marks, 10 intercept possessions, and 881 metres gained. An absolute monster of a game and putting him right back into All-Australian contention. Considering GWS star Sam Taylor will be out for a period of time, don't be surprised to see Captain Sicily back in there for a second year in a row. And now to recap the votes, Sicily now jumps into second place in the tally, trailing just Dylan Moore, who has had a couple of quiet weeks by his standards since the Crows game. Chol joins a couple of others on 3 votes, and Duke gets closer to double digits after his contributions against the Tigers. Anyway, that's all from me, Hawkers. Apologies for the late review. The flu got me under the weather and I sounded like absolute shit on the mic. I tried recording this a couple of times last week, but it just didn't work. But nonetheless, we did it. We'll be uploading a preview for our huge game against the Eagles in Perth on Sunday Arvo. Both these teams are massively improved from last year, so I'll be keen to see what we dish up. I do expect it will be a much closer game than what some Hawks fans are predicting at the moment, but more on that later this week. Hope you all have a cracker of a Thursday, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, Hawkers.